Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammi. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast, everybody. Today we are here with Rachel. I just love to share how I meet people because I love meeting people everywhere. And I actually met Rachel. She was working, and we just got into a conversation about her goals, what she wants to accomplish, where she's working for, her mentality, and mostly what stuck out to me was her challenging the status quo. So we had a conversation. She's working as a teller, but she wanted to be a tattoo artist. And everyone was telling her, you have to go to school, you have to get like a proper education in doing this in order to become a tattoo artist. She was like, I don't think I do. And challenging the status quo, she's been taking a different course, but still school, but not the formal thing that we all think it needs to be, and working under an accomplished tattoo artist to learn how to be a better tattoo artist. So I think it's incredible. I love the idea and the conversation of challenging the status quo, and I just wanted to continue the conversation out of the grocery store, which is what brought us here today. So thanks for coming, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want to jump into that, Rachel. Tell me what it was about being a tattoo artist that made you want to be a tattoo artist.
You know, I never thought I was going to be a tattoo artist. And then I went to actually go get a tattoo. And then the lady told me that she had a course that I could take. And I was like, well, hold on. I don't want to be a cashier for the rest of my life. So this is something really cool. A little bit pricey, but really cool. So why not? And yeah, it started, and it's one of the best things ever. But with that comes a lot of judgment and hate, which I'm struggling with, but it's a great learning curve.
What are you finding? What's the judgment and hate that you're finding is coming up?
The way that I'm doing tattooing is I'm not taking a traditional apprenticeship because I don't have the time or the money for it, because I was kicked out right after high school. So that's also why I'm not in university or college or anything like that. People are like, oh, you don't have the proper, your artist doesn't know what she's doing because she's taking on somebody so quickly. You're going to ruin people's lives with your tattooing. Just really negative, and they say they're being nice and they want to help me, but it's really just lowering my spirits. A lady at work said that to me, and I'm like, I don't want to be a cashier for the rest of my life. And I can't work at a shop because with a traditional apprenticeship, I'm working for a shop for free for 5 days a week, full hours. I'm committed to them and not getting paid. I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to buy groceries or pay rent with that. Megan, my senior artist, told me about this, actually gave me the opportunity to work with her. I was like, let's do it. And she has been my biggest backbone. She has helped me stay confident through this entire thing because just the comments keep coming up, and I see things online and they really get to me because I don't want to be they call them scratchers, where I'm doing cheap tattoos that are really bad, and that's what some people call me. But I want to be able to put my art on people, and I found that really cool, and Megan does that.
I'm really sorry you're experiencing that. And the worst part is the negative almost always comes from people whose lives you don't want.
Yes, yeah.
It's very rare that there's someone you're looking at and you're like, I would like to learn from you, and they speak negatively to you.
Yeah.
It's usually people who you're like, I actually want nothing to do with your life, so don't care about your opinion, you know?
I mean, I was always taught, like, you got to listen to people who are older than you and take their advice, and they have more experience in life than you.
But that doesn't mean every old person who's older than you, right? Like, in this case, your tattoo, the person who's teaching you is older than you.
Yeah.
And she's teaching you, right? So I think that there's only so far that saying goes. Yes, absolutely, we can learn from our elders and take some life knowledge and skills from them, but it doesn't mean we lead our life with their advice.
Yeah.
We just take it into consideration. What do you do for yourself to help overcome the negative that you're receiving from people?
Yeah, I had a feeling that you were going to ask a question like this, and I had asked you for, like, what kind of question you were going to ask, and how I'm, like, overcoming it. Personally, I'm not. I am, like, I try so hard, and I think the only way that I can is just to push it away. Some people consider that, like, that's good, like, what you're doing is still working, and I'm like, yeah, but the only way I'm overcoming it is my supports, like Megan, my senior artist. My boyfriend is incredible with, like, pushing me and, like, telling me that I'm doing good work, and people like you who want to talk about my story. Like, that's the only thing that's, like, right now is keeping me going forward, just because, again, all the hate is one negative comment in, like, this world. Like, to me, one negative comment can hurt me so much more than 5 compliments.
This is going to date me so much, but in the movie Pretty Woman, there's a scene where they're cuddling in bed and he says something really lovely to her. I can't remember what he says to her. And she just says, the bad stuff is easier to believe.
Yeah.
And that's her response. And I'm like, it's so true.
It is.
Yeah.
Because, well, we're so hard on ourselves. And I mean, I'm super hard on myself because I obviously don't want to ruin anybody's lives with my tattooing. And then I'm getting these comments that are just reinforcing my negative thoughts. And it's just like, oh, well, like, it's so much easier to be down and upset with yourself than happy and proud of yourself. And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, and I think oftentimes we are taught at a young age to not be boastful, to not be, don't brag about our things like that. And I think that there's a fine line between being proud of yourself and speaking about what you're good at and bragging.
Yeah.
Like, there's a fine line, and we lose it. We lose that line. It's like, I don't want to say beat out of us, but it's verbally beaten out of us to not brag about it, because we're not allowed to speak about what we are good at. And there's that line between saying, I'm good at this and I can help other people be good at it, versus I'm good at this and you're not.
Yeah.
Right? Those are two very different things to say. So I think it's incredible what you're doing.
Thank you.
Regardless of what people say, because even, let's just pretend that people did regret their tattoo after they got one. People regret good tattoos. Yeah. Let alone bad tattoos. Yeah. And I know a lot of people who got a tattoo from a new artist, and they knew they were getting a tattoo from a new artist.
Yeah, and I obviously make sure to disclose that. I'm like, hey,
okay with it.
I have a senior artist. She's done this a lot longer than I have. But, I mean, people still choose to come to me, and people have come back to me for their second tattoo, and I'm like I'm very grateful.
Nobody starts at the top.
Yeah.
Even if you went to proper school, they're both proper school, even if you went to what everybody would call a proper school, you're still going to start as a new artist. Yeah. Period. And you're going to have to get people that come in and they're your guinea pigs, and that's just part of it. In this case, you just get to get paid for it too. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I love that you're challenging the status quo so much, and
I'm really challenging it.
At a young age, and so many people are so afraid at that age, and I just love that. And I want this conversation to happen because I wanted to encourage other people to do that, because I think we're so scared when we're younger to challenge the status quo. Yeah. We're so afraid of what people will think, and we think we need to listen to everybody older than us, and we just don't.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still afraid.
Absolutely.
Like,
we're all afraid.
Yeah. But my main goal in life is to be self-employed. I don't care what I'm doing, as long as I love doing it and I can do it on my own. like, since I was like in grade 9, grade 8, I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to know that I could take care of myself with my own skills. I wanted to be that girl. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm branching out and doing so many different things, because I love when people ask me or need me for my work, because I know that I've done a good job.
Yeah.
That's also what's keeping me going, is like I want to know that I can do something, and like people need me for it.
Yeah. I love that so much. And so much, like, I find it's very rare to come across another person who knew what they wanted at such a young age. I was the same way, but different things.
Yeah.
But the same way. And I'm like, I've wanted this since I was like 12 years old, and pretty much all of it's come true. And so, but when I was that age, people like, you don't really know what you want.
Yeah.
You don't really know, especially in high school. And into your 20s, people kind of start to believe you more, but it's not until you follow through that they're like, oh. And so a couple of things I want to say. Number one, like, even if the tattoo artist doesn't work out and you change your mind, you're going to learn so much through this. Like, so much of your capabilities, your resolve, your ability to follow through, your ability to learn new things. Like, there's so much that you're proving to yourself right now, even though it feels hard.
Yeah. I obviously hope, like, I can do this a long time. Like, I mean, my goal is to, like, do digital editing or website editing or something like that, and then still be able to have time to tattoo. Like, I love being a Jane of all trades. A lot of people say it's a bad thing, but if I master those skills, it's not always a bad thing.
And it's really common now.
Yeah.
To have multiple different things that you do that make little bits here and there.
Yeah.
Versus one. It's not as traditional anymore.
But I have 3 different jobs because I don't want to do the same thing every single week.
Yeah.
I need a change up. Like, I will go insane.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you indicated earlier, and you had talked about how you were kicked out right after you graduated, I think you said, or right after you turned 18.
So I did say right after I graduated, just because it makes it sound a little less crappy. But the night before I turned 18, my dad moved out. What happened was my dad found a girlfriend, and she's very lovely. Like, they make each other happy, and it's great. But he gave my boyfriend and I like 2-3 months to figure out what we're gonna do, or me 2-3 months figuring out what I was gonna do, because he wanted to move out as soon as I turned 18, because that's when I can live alone. So I had to figure out how to get the apartment in my name. 2 months to figure out how utilities work and get my phone bill set up and talk to a property manager and stuff like that. It was a big kick. I had to figure that out all on my own. Like, my boyfriend's mom was there to help. So it was just a really big shock. When I just turned 18, I was still going to high school. That was also like, I'm still in high school and I'm living on my own.
I hope that some teachers hear this, because I don't know what the situation was like for you, but I know that there was kids in my high school who had really hard growing up years. I don't know them personally. I don't know what they were, but teachers would judge them for showing up late or whatever, and they would blame it on partying or drinking or drugs or something. And the kids I remember it being about, I'm not saying they never did those things, but it wasn't like that was their whole life and that was the problem. It was that they were living on their own, and they were a 17, 18-year-old child having to actually do everything themselves.
Yeah.
And like, our brains just actually aren't fully developed till we're 25.
Yeah.
And we expect, and so it's a lot. And so I hope teachers hear that, because I hope that they can see this other side of students that might be struggling, and that they're not bad kids. They're having a hard time.
Yeah.
And they need help and someone to believe in them, oftentimes.
Yeah.
Can I ask what that was like for you? Like, did you experience that at all in high school with teachers or anything like that? Or nobody really knew what had happened?
When I told teachers that I'm living on my own, they're like, oh, like, that's crappy, but like, good for you. Like, it was my last few months of high school, so it wasn't like I was struggling, but it was like I had support from the school. Like I got food vouchers, and they, I think, like almost put on a waiting list. Like I got a government grant for 1 month's rent to cover. So like I was,
they were helping you.
yeah.
That's
It was my supports at my school were amazing. I've had so many big steps in my life that this one is like, I mean, it's still a pretty big step, but I think now that I've gotten used to it and I know what I'm doing, I feel like past me, like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
The way that you're speaking about everything, nothing that this is why you're going to accomplish great things, is because none of the things that are going on in your life, like I'm not saying they're hard, but the way that you speak about them is with the gratitude for them.
Oh yeah.
And not many people can speak about bad things that way. There's not many people that you can speak that they're hard and have gratitude for what you've learned through them, or you can speak how hard they are and how they've ruined your life. And you don't speak that way about, so far, the things you've talked about. And I think it's a beautiful attitude to have, because it's one that's going to propel you very far, for sure.
I've had to learn a lot of lessons by myself, and I mean, I guess that's where it got me, so we're in a good place.
Yeah.
I try and reflect on that quite often. Like, my past is really harsh, but I try and think of it as, if that didn't happen, like, where would me and my boyfriend be? Or would I have met my dad? Would I be tattooing? Like, it's all these things that, even though I wish I could, like, I think about changing my past, I don't think I would if I had the opportunity to, because even though life is hard right now, it's still pretty great.
Can I ask you more about the things that have happened in your past? Like, you found your dad at 15, you said?
Yeah.
Where were you before that?
Foster care.
Okay.
I was in foster care for a year. The foster family was great. I actually got to live with my friend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Her dad fostered me, which was an opportunity not many people get to have in the foster community. So I was sexually abused for 7-8 years. And when I told my mom, she didn't believe me.
Was it like a stepdad or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. When I told my mom, she didn't believe me. And he admitted it to her, and she still said it was my fault. Then she was trying to figure out how to help him with his addiction, and contacted CPS by accident, which I find really funny. Still says it's my fault. I haven't been in contact with her for 4 years. She moved and took my sisters with her, so I haven't seen them for 4 years either. But that's why so many people say that I've matured too fast, is because I've had to survive.
So you were what, like 6 or 7 when it started? 7 or 8 maybe?
I think 6 or 7. Yeah. It was nonstop until I was until grade 9. I talk about the story in a way that it didn't happen, because that's the only way I can cope with it. During that time, I would self-harm, and there were times where I had to go to the hospital and make sure that I was okay. Past me would have begged to change the past. Now me, well, first off, I'm I know I can't change the past, but if I could, I wouldn't. There are a few things I wish I could change. I wish I could see my sisters again. That's the thing that has hurt me the most. it's more painful than what happened to me. My family was very religious, which I am not anymore, because just like what my stepdad would tell me whenever he would do things to me, he'd say that I should forgive him, because if I don't, like, I'd go to hell.
Oh my God.
And stuff like that.
Do you know if it happened to your sisters at all too?
I am 89% confident that it didn't, because he told me that I was the only one he liked when he would do things, which is I would take it from him as long as he didn't do anything to my sisters.
I'm sorry you experienced all that. I know that you're grateful, and you say, like, I wouldn't change it because I've learned so much, and that's an incredible attitude to have. But I'm still sorry that you had to learn lessons that way.
Yeah,
it would have been much better to learn those lessons not that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. But, I mean, like, I still have my hardships, but...
What would you say to someone if you knew that someone was in that situation? What would you say to someone now? Or what would you say to yourself back in that situation, if you could say anything?
You know, that's a good question. It's not normal. I always thought it was normal.
Hmm.
He normalized it for me just because of how much that happened. It's not normal. It's not okay. Like, I remember telling my best friend that this was happening to me in middle school. And she, when you're so young, you can't wrap your head around how somebody could do that. So she always knew. But it was like, do we tell someone because they're like a parent figure? Yeah. It's not normal. It's not okay. You can go and tell somebody.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, Rachel. I'm really sorry that is the story that shaped you. And I know that it's a story that shaped you. And so amazing. Look at who you are today, and look at this resolve you have and this mentality that you have. And it's incredible. But I also wish you didn't have to go through it at the same time.
Yeah.
That's me personally speaking that. You can disagree with me, and that's okay.
No, I'm like, no, I would not disagree with you on that point.
I want to circle back to what you're talking about earlier, and you were saying, like, you're now working 4 jobs.
Yeah.
Or you're about to take on a 4th.
Yeah.
And you kind of, before we started recording, you kind of alluded to the venue here in town, helping with event planning. So tell me about that. So you're working at No Frills, you're doing a tattoo artist. What's the 3rd one?
I'm working at the secondhand consignment store here in town. Yeah. Oh. And then the venue planning. So and then I also have my small business on the side.
Tell me about these things. Okay, what's the venue? What are you doing there?
So the venue is asking me to do event management. So I feel like that's a great opportunity to test my skills at organization. And I love that. I just
love what you just said right there. I feel like that's a good opportunity to test my skills at organization. Oh my gosh, Rachel, the amount of people who can learn from that sentence right there, like, everybody will say, I'm not that organized, I can't do that job. And you're saying, I want to test my skills of organization and see if I can do this. Like, yeah. I love that. I'm sorry, keep going.
Thank you.
That's so good.
It's experience. It's something I can put on a resume if I want, or something that helps me build my skills.
And what's your small business?
I make jewelry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Out of... Like, what's the jewelry made out of? Metal? Beads?
Beads. So I make, like, beaded jewelry, and I design and make stickers as well. I actually do everything. So I make stickers, I've made shirts, I've made bags, I have pins, I sell crystals.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, that's awesome.
I do so much. Some people say that I do too much, but it's like, I just want to try everything.
It's your life, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's your personal company called?
Misthetics Co.
Misthetics Co?
Yeah, it's a twist on the words miscellaneous aesthetics.
Can you just speak your age for me, Rachel? So
18.
18?
Yeah.
18 years old.
Yeah.
So you just graduated high school. And this year? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are doing so many things. Like, listening to you speak, I'm very confident when this episode releases, there are people who are going to listen to what you're doing and what you're speaking of, and they're going to assume you're at least 25. The way that you speak, the way you carry yourself, how driven you are, how open you are to learning and growing. I'm not saying there's not fear there, but the lack of letting the fear stop you is incredible. I just want you to know that.
I mean, like expanding on your point of my lack of fear, I am very fearful to the point where the fear is like everywhere, so I'm used to it, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst? Like, the worst that can happen is I don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Like, tattooing, I wasn't expecting to be working with my senior artist. I was probably, like, I don't know what I was going to do with that. And then everything came into place. My business, I don't pay myself. I literally just put the money back into my business because it's, like, an awesome hobby. It keeps me busy. People love it. I bring smiles to people. Like, again, like, the hateful comments really get to me. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I've already put my work into this. So, like, I'm not going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's almost as if, like, the fear is on my shoulder, but there's just a momentum just pushing me to keep going.
I love it, Rachel. I really, really do. I'm not just saying that because you're here. Like, it really warms my heart because I just think too many people, young or old, are inhibited by I don't know this, or I don't have time, or I don't know how to do it. So, and they forget that they didn't know how to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn
Yeah.
anything.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I did. That's why I'm doing so much, is I like doing all these things, but there's something that's out there that I'm going to love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't found it yet. Or I just haven't gotten to the point of loving it. There's so much. And then, like, I am scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I would say that I don't have any free time, but I make it. Like, I push myself to just, like, stay up later or get up earlier or take one day off and just do something. But there's always a solution.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So you may have just answered this question, but if you were to be talking to somebody who is maybe just graduating high school and doesn't really know what they're going to do, they're not sure about university, they're not really sure what path they're going to be, like, what would you say to that person? That was you. I mean, not quite you 6 months ago, but almost you 6 months ago.
I would ask them what they wanted to do, and the first thing that they say, I'd say do it. Just do it. Even if you can't get into school, start researching it. Like, you don't need to go to school to be an artist. You don't need to be going to school for, like, a lot of different things. And I don't want to say school's bad, but school
has a purpose, and it's not everything.
Yeah.
It's my
and
opinion.
it, like, and I also don't want to say it slows you down, because there's some things, like, you don't want to have a nurse that hasn't gone to school.
Absolutely.
But there are so many things that you can do without school.
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously had to learn that the hard way. But, like, there's so much you can do without having to do 4 more years or 8 more years. Mm-hmm. But go and do it. Mm-hmm. Somehow, some way, you can go and do it.
Yeah. We put so much pressure on school, on that you have to go to school, you have to have this degree. And I'm not saying school is bad. There is absolutely a value there. But I think we assume that that our only option is school. And if we don't do school, it's like we failed. But do you know, like, if you go look up most successful people, many of them do not have degrees.
No.
They have ambition, they have drive, and a desire to learn anything.
Yeah.
And most people who own successful businesses do not have a business degree.
Yeah.
Like, lots do, but many don't.
Yeah.
And you don't, and we just think that we've put this pedestal on post-secondary education, and it's great, and I'm not saying it's bad, and I mean, somebody listening to this could have been like, well, do you even have a post-secondary education? Like, can you even speak to that? Are you successful? I'm like, no, I do know people who have post-secondary educations and it's gone really well for them.
Yeah.
But I also know a lot of people who have, I know more people who have a post-secondary education and it's gone nowhere for them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't actually take what they wanted.
Yeah.
They took something because they felt like they had to go to school.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm saying know that's what you want before you go to school.
Yeah. I feel like, again, like my situation has put me in a really unique position because I can't go to school. Like I wanted to go to school to become an elementary school teacher. But like with the more research I've been doing, it's like the salary's not that great and they don't get treated as well. Like I feel like you should know what you are getting into before you go.
I really think your mentality, your resolve, and your ability to pick what you want kind of matters more than anything. Whether it's school or work, it doesn't matter, but it's that all hinges on the success rate of it, I think.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one more question before we go. What do you see your future looking like? I don't mean necessarily job-wise, but like what do you envision for yourself in the future? What would you like it to look like?
There's a specific vision. Well, actually, no. It's like a jumble of ideas. I shouldn't say a specific vision because I have way too many of those. Like I said before, I want to be self-employed. I want to be able to either like be able to travel and be able to work from like a laptop or something, or like I know like stress comes from everywhere. Even if I'm managing my own business, that's really stressful. Like I'm not saying I want to be self-employed because there's less stress. I want to be self-employed because it's a freeing thought that you're not working under anybody. That's what I would envision my future, fingers crossed, to be.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us today. I know it was so random how we met, and I just love these conversations. I think they're really incredible. And I think, I would have had this conversation even if it wasn't recorded. It was very cool. So thank you so much for being here today, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammi